Welcome to the Investor Den Blueprint to Financial Freedom podcast, where we dive deep into the minds of the biggest and most successful entrepreneurs, passive income investors, and capital raisers in the world. Our mission is to equip you with the essential tools, the mindset, and the skill sets necessary to conquer yourself, transform your life, and master your finances. Join us as we unravel the secrets and the strategies and wisdom of these industry experts, providing you with the invaluable insights and action steps that you can start implementing today. It's time to reclaim control of your time, allowing you to live a life of unrivaled success, happiness, and fulfillment. Get ready to unlock a world of growth and abundance that awaits you. Welcome to the Investor Den Blueprint to Financial Freedom podcast, where your journey towards financial empowerment begins. All right, so welcome to the Investor Den Blueprint to Financial Freedom podcast. And today we're very excited because we have a very special guest, Carlos Salguero, here from CS3 Investments. And we're very excited to have Carlos on. We were just chatting offline before we jumped on to the episode here. And we have a lot of similar backgrounds, both coming from immigrant families and really kind of just starting from nothing, getting that work ethic and just working hard to achieve our dreams and and accomplish our goals and really reach that the American dream, right? So, well, Carlos, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you coming on. I know you mentioned you're actually at one of your properties right now. So again, thank you very much. But yeah, if you want to share, a little bit about yourself for our listeners, our audience, and then we'll just take it from there.
Awesome, Jorge. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Carlos Salguero. I'm originally from Quito, Ecuador. Came to the U.S. at 17. My parents' dreams was that we could have an education here in the U.S. and I don't know if they really wanted us to stay, but I think my dad did, because that was his dream, to eventually move to the U.S. and build a life here. A lot of people that he knew had moved here and have created better opportunities for themselves. And he didn't have the chance in his lifetime to do that because he was busy just trying to change the future of our family. But I had a chance to come to college, got a couple degrees. I thought corporate life was probably going to be my pinnacle of success. So after I graduated with a business and an engineering degree, I went and got a job like most people do, right? So I started working for a tech company out in Silicon Valley, California, Hewlett Packard. Did really well there. I became engineering manager for North America. So quickly went up the ranks, and I realized that I was having a lot of fun. I was traveling the world. I was making good money. I was leading a team of 100 engineers, but I quickly realized that all that can come crashing down when the economy is not doing well, right? Corporations are very sensitive to economic downturns. And back in those days, the dot-com bubble, which was the beginning of the internet, just came down crashing. And 9/11 happened right after. So these big corporations like HP started downsizing. I had to fire 50 engineers in my group. Then guess who got fired after that, right? So I had to scramble, look for something to do. Thankfully, I've always been entrepreneurial because I grew up in my dad's printing shop and always trying to tinker and figure out and create and do something. I started my first business when I was a kid with my brother. And when this happened, I discovered the internet. I discovered e-commerce. So I started selling online. eBay was barely getting started back then. So I started posting some things online and just kind of trying, right? Sometimes I think that the best way to figure out if something works or not is not to just think about it, but actually, hey, let's go try this and see if it works. And that's what I did, Jorge. I posted a few items online, some equipment that I had, some laptops, some servers, some toner cartridges, and little did I know, it started selling. So I started buying liquidation overstock goods. Silicon Valley, California, San Jose, California was super expensive to live in. So I decided to move back to Colorado, downsize my expenses, moved back with my mom. My mom had actually moved to Colorado then, rented a room from her, rented her basement for my office, and rented a garage. And then from that small garage in my mom's house, I helped them buy a bigger house with a bigger garage so that I could rent that bigger garage. And then they became my first employees. So my mom was my first employee. My stepdad was my second employee. Then I met my wife, and 6 months later, she was my third employee.
Family
So
business.
when we got married, yeah, I kind of figured, who else can I trust? And back in those days, I really didn't understand how to hire people, how to interview right, how to spot the winners from the people that just tell you, yeah, I'm going to do this, and they don't do it. So, the business started growing. We grew from the garage to a small storage unit, then to a little warehouse. Then I became a commercial tenant. And then I hated being a commercial tenant because I started thinking, wait a minute, I'm paying for the rent, I'm paying for the insurance, I'm paying for the real estate taxes, I'm paying for the maintenance. What is the landlord paying for? Right?
You're financing the landlord's equity, right?
Everything.
Yeah.
So, you know what? I want to be on that side of the equation. And I actually started shopping for a commercial warehouse. And this commercial warehouse that I found was very, very beat down, raggedy. It was built in the 50s. It was, to me, it was beautiful because it has 50,000 square feet. It was built like a bunker, concrete and concrete roof. And they had a 4-acre lot on it. And, every person that came to see it, because in those days, I had no idea what real estate was all about. People that came to see it was like, no, man, this is going to cost you a fortune to remodel, and it's too old, and it's going to have all these problems. But, even though a lot of naysayers said no, I just had this feeling in my gut that, hey, I think this is going to work out.
You
So
believed in yourself, right? And
yeah,
that's one of the biggest keys to being in business is believing in yourself and not letting the naysayers kind of get in your head, right? I mean, that's something that we encounter all the time, that I personally encounter all the time, and that's one of the biggest things for me.
You've probably seen that many times in your own journey, where you present an idea and you're looking for input, but you're not looking for the what ifs, right? You're looking for, what do you think? And sometimes I think that's the challenge that I've seen time and time again with people, is like they get swayed by people, by the way, that have never done it before.
Exactly.
Right?
Don't take advice from someone that's not where you want to be or has done what you want to do, right? I mean, I live by that.
Exactly. Because, if you're going to ask the opinion of someone, and I didn't know back then, right? So who did I go to? The people that I knew.
The people you know. Yeah.
None of them had ever bought a big commercial building. So what advice could they give me? So thankfully, I was able to discern that and say, you know what, at the end of the day, they haven't done it. So let me just go try it. So I bet it all, right? I got an SBA loan. I scrambled every penny I had for the down payment. And I remodeled it. The budget was supposed to be $250,000. And then the city got in the way and started making changes and not grandfathering things. And, that blew up, that doubled in value. So, this project, had pushed me to work harder. That's really it. Because I think you relate to this, Jorge. It's like when we're put against the wall, and there's no way but to work a little harder, push a little stronger, what ends up happening is you figure out a way. That pressure creates diamonds, and you start figuring, hey, how do I create more income? So that's really what I did. And that's how I got my first commercial property 12 years ago. My business moved into this property. It was, I went from a 5,000 square foot warehouse to a 50,000 square foot warehouse. And they say that, you put the fish in a bigger tank, the fish grows, right? And that was me, because now I had all this space and I had to pay for my mortgage and my expenses. And I was like, okay, let me figure things out. So out of that warehouse, I built the e-commerce business, grew. Then I started a logistics business. I figured out, hey, you know what? I can probably charge my friends to store their products here in the warehouse, fulfill their products, work on their inventory and stuff like that. So my second business was born. My logistics company was born. And then kind of being true back to my roots of growing up in my dad's printing company, a lot of my clients were asking me for printing. They were asking me for flyers, for inserts, for labels, for all kinds of things. So I was like, you know what? I know how to do this. I practically was born in a printing company, and I was there with my dad since I was 8. So let me just buy a few machines, and I started a printing business there. And eventually I started a supplement company because you know, I love fitness, and I've always loved nutrition. So I started a supplement company there, and the supplement company took off like a rocket. And it was kind of the result of me getting in the right rooms as well, because you know, eventually what I started doing is going to a lot of conferences, a lot of masterminds, getting around the right people, paying for mentorship. And at one of these masterminds, I met a couple of people that connected me with a third person, and I became partners with this guy, helped him sell his first company. Then we partnered on the supplement company, and the supplement company took off like a rocket, and we sold it for 8 figures
That's amazing.
right in the middle of COVID. So, you know, that was kind of the beginning of the journey.
Right.
And but my side gig for all this time, Jorge, was real estate. I had been buying real estate for 15 years because every extra penny that I had, which I'll rewind a little bit, back when I was in my 20s at Hewlett Packard, everybody around me, right? Everybody around me was investing in the stock market. Like they were investing in startups, they were investing in penny stocks, they were investing in ETFs, investing in all that stuff. But when the dot-com bubble burst,
it evaporated.
It evaporated, right?
Yeah. That's what we like real estate, right? The hard asset, having the hard asset.
Yeah. So I vowed back then in my 20s to say, you know what? Next time I invest in something, I got to be able to touch it, right? I got to be able to be in it.
100%.
Like right now, we're in one of the conference rooms of our property here in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. It's a beautiful mixed-use asset with 55 units and 40,000 square feet of commercial space in the first floor. And you know, it's like the money's here, right? Like I'm in the money. So these assets gonna go nowhere, right? It will never go down to zero.
Yeah, I mean, look, people are always going to need a place to live, right? No matter what happens. And I mean, you have an amazing story of, you know, especially how quickly you grew your multifamily division in your business. But you know, before I even get to that, I think one of the biggest takeaways is that from you know, reading your bio and talking to you, is that you just have that entrepreneurial spirit all the way from the beginning. I mean, at one point you were even in the publishing business, weren't you? You know, and that's super interesting. If you could just share a little bit about that, and then we'll get more back into the real estate aspect of it. But you know, just to kind of give a little bit of background on that, because I found that very interesting.
You know, it's interesting that you mentioned that, because when I was in my teens, late teens, early 20s, going to college, and I was going back home for the summers. You know, I would you know, do my schooling here, and then I would go back home for the summers, spend time back at home helping my dad, helping my mom. Back to Quito. Yeah. So we would fly back to Quito, be there for 3 months during the break. My brother was still in high school, and when we came back, we would be bored, and I'm like, hey, what do we do? And we always like sports. Like I've done soccer, I've done paragliding, I've done mountain biking, I've done downhill racing, I've done a little bit of everything. And in that season, we were doing a lot of downhill mountain biking racing and just long distance mountain biking racing. And we noticed, as we were traveling to the races and going and hanging out with friends that did the same thing, that there was no publication that covered the mountain biking sport in Ecuador, not even the cycling sport at all. So we're like, hey, what if we create a magazine that covers the sport, that, you know, goes to the races, takes the pictures, puts the people that are doing the best, blah, blah, blah. So we had no idea how to start a magazine, other than we were born in a printing company, and my dad had machines and computers. So my brother and I sat down at a computer, put together a 4-fold black and white with pictures of ourselves, articles written by ourselves. Everything was by ourselves. So if you read the section of our magazine, it was like Carlos and Ricardo Salguero for everything, right? It was like editor, Carlos and Ricardo. graphic designer, Carlos and Ricardo. So it was all of us, right? So
It's like
it was
director,
funny.
producer,
Jack of all trades. But we had to figure out how to make money with this. So what we did is like, hey, you know what? Let's just go door to door to the sports distributors, the mountain biking shops, all the places that could potentially be buying advertising in our magazine, and let's just ask. So we walked into a lot of places. Most of them were no. We were kids, right? So they looked at us and they're like, "What do you guys want?" And then eventually, a couple of people said yes. My dad bought a little tiny itty bitty space in the magazine. He never gave it to us for free, by the way. He always said, "You guys pay for the paper, you guys pay for the printing labor, you guys pay for everything," which I'm thankful because we never got the handout, so we had to sustain this with real money, right? And eventually we had a couple good clients. And after the first edition, we had gone to the biggest sports distributor in Ecuador called Marathon Sports, which is now huge, is one of the biggest companies in Latin America for distribution of sports equipment. Back then, they were just, a few stores in Quito. And, we walk into the main guy's office and he looked at us and says, "Oh, boys, man, I love the project." Like he said, "Man, I love the project," but in good Shark Tank style, what he asked us was, "How much have you sold?" And we're like, "It's our first edition." So he's like, "Look, I'm gonna pass, but send me the first copy." And we did. So we went, printed it, and put it in an envelope, send the first copy. And he actually called us and he said, "Hey guys, you know what? This is very professional, looks good. I'm interested. I'm gonna buy the back cover ad and the inside cover ad." So he basically financed a year's worth of us creating this magazine from that.
Yeah.
After knocking on,
I mean, and
50
again, that's why I
different
was so
doors.
amazed by the story when I first read about it. And it's what they say, right? Like every no gets you closer to that yes.
Yes.
And I feel like sometimes too many people quit right before could have been what could have been the next yes or the first yes
Oh, yeah.
after too many no's. And I think that's the biggest lesson to take away from that. And again, I'm sure that all these building blocks led to where you are now. And so, just to get back into the real estate side of it, you have an impressive portfolio, over 1,000 doors in multifamily alone. Which, by the way, I mean, you were able to acquire these like in record pace. And I'm just
Yes.
curious as to if you could share with our audience, how you were able to do that. What systems you put in place, just in general, so we can have an idea of how someone as successful as you was able to embark on your journey and achieve such great results so quickly.
Yeah. Thank you, Jorge. I think one of the big things is, look, a lot of people want to learn how to invest. And I know that your audience is people that want to learn how to invest. And I would always say this, look, if you want to learn how to invest, the first thing you have to do is invest, right? It doesn't matter if you have $1,000 or $100,000, get into an investment, like lean into someone like Jorge that has the experience, has the knowledge, is committed to invest in a project so that you can now be invested in something and start learning. Because I think that what you having your money invested does, it creates you to focus and have attention. So a lot of people think, oh yeah, but I'm just a passive investor. Yeah, but you can ask questions, you can inquire, you can find out the strategy, you can find out how they do things, you can there's so many things. It's like if I invest in Apple stock, guys, all I can do is read the news presses. I can't show up to Apple headquarters and say, "Hey guys, I'm an investor, show me what's up." No. But when you invest in a property, you can drive by it, you can understand the market, you can understand the dynamics, you can understand what they're doing to improve the property. You know what I mean? And us as syndicators and us as sponsors of the deals, we're more than happy to show you exactly behind the scenes what we're doing, so that you learn and
Yeah.
understand.
And transparency is the key, right?
Yeah,
Transparency is a huge key to it.
100%.
Yeah, and one of the things that we always talk about, and to your point, which is, you know, once you invest, once you get involved, there's this paradigm shift that takes place, and all of a sudden your mind opens up to different. You just begin to see things differently, and opportunities that you may not have really, you know, seen or even noticed before, all of a sudden come into your hemisphere, and they enter into your radar, and you begin to you know, just completely, you know, different outlook. And then from there, you know, it's almost like, yeah, maybe you start as a passive investor, but then eventually, if that's something that you really want to embark on, then you become the principal, and continue to educate yourself, and start to grow your portfolio that way. And
That's right.
so yeah, I mean, I love what you know, what your philosophy is when it comes to that.
You know, in one thing, Jorge, that people don't understand is like, now that we are real estate investors, like we think that everybody knows this. There's so few people that understand that they can invest in large properties.
Yeah.
Like there's a very limited amount. I had no clue for the first 15 years of my journey that I could actually partner with someone and buy a big commercial property like the one I'm sitting
And
in.
leverage their experience, leverage
Yeah.
other people's money. You're all coming in together. I mean, it's a huge
No idea.
syndication model for that reason.
Look, I was a very successful entrepreneur making great money. People knew me in my community. Not once I was pitched a real estate deal. Not once. I wish somebody would have had the decency to say, hey, Carlos, I'm buying this property. It's an apartment complex. It's like, hey, do you want to partner with me? Do you want to invest a little money? Not once, Jorge.
Yeah.
I was approached to invest in a real estate deal. And I would have said, hey, I'm curious, show me. Right.
And that's a very good point, because sometimes people are sort of not ashamed, but like they shy or hesitant to go out and talk to people about what they're doing, or you know, even present a deal to someone that, who knows, could maybe help you. And I think there's a stigma to that, when in reality, and I'm sure you can attest to this, like, to your point, it's, you know, you're presenting an opportunity that they would not have otherwise known about or had an opportunity to participate in, and they could be grateful. I mean, you know, there's a lot of stigma around that, and so we look at it from that perspective, where it's like, hey, listen, we're bringing a value to a potential investor, to diversify their portfolio, to invest in something that they would not have seen otherwise. And I think that's a very strong position to have when you're from a syndication standpoint. Hi there, Investor Den. I know you're enjoying the episode, but I have an important message I want to share with you. If you've been following the podcast for a while, then it means one of two things. One, you aspire to have it all. You want to unlock your potential across all areas of your life and achieve true freedom, physically, mentally, and financially. And two, you're an investor or an aspiring investor, and you have chosen to use passive income as your wealth creation vehicle to achieve financial freedom. Well, I have something exciting to share with you. We have put together an incredible resource called the Blueprint to Financial Freedom ebook. In this book, we will show you the same strategies that we've used in our own business to grow from an initial investment of only $1,000 to an impressive 8-figure portfolio with assets under management. In it, you'll discover how to acquire cash flowing assets, how to generate 6-figure passive income, and even how to access the capital you need to kickstart your investment journey. This ebook is packed with practical tips, step-by-step guidance, and real-life examples that will empower you to take control of your financial future. And the best part, it's absolutely free. So take a moment to click the link in the description below and grab your copy of the Blueprint to Financial Freedom ebook. It's time to take charge of your financial destiny. We're excited to join you on this journey to financial freedom. Now, let's get back to the episode.
Look, I always see it this way. It's a gift, right? I'm giving the gift, just like I was given the gift of opportunity in this country, of coming here and studying here, and now, as you know, compared to what we see in Colombia or Ecuador or any of our countries, the chances and opportunities that we have here are just endless.
Yes.
Like anyone with the willingness and desire to learn and take action can make a great life for themselves, like bar none. So the way I see it when I talk to someone and I want to offer them an investment is like I'm offering a gift, the gift of opportunity of you putting your money to work. My dad had a story that I remember so clearly. He would tell this story a lot. Is like, you know, when he achieved a little bit of success, he bought a little farm in the countryside of Ecuador. And it was not a big farm, you know, it was a farm, maybe 10 acres, something like that. He had some chickens, he had a couple cows, he had some trees, and but you know, all of a sudden people that are very, very poor think that he's the big landowner, right? So they would come and they would come early in the morning, and he told us a story about this lady and her husband that came one morning and said, "Hey, Mr. Nelson," and they had a chicken in her hands. And said, "Hey, Mr. Nelson, we would love for you to do us the honor." And as she was saying this, she handed the chicken to my dad. So my dad's like holding this live chicken in his arms. I was like, "What is this?" Right? It's like it was a gift, right? It was a gift of, "Hey, here's a chicken." It's like, "Would you do this the honor to be the godfather of our grandkid that is about to be born here in about so and so?" And my dad is like, "Oh my God, it's like such a privilege. When is it?" And she's like, "Oh, it's in February." And my dad had a trip planned out already that he couldn't make it, right? So he's like, "Hey, you know what? Unfortunately, I can't make it to the thing because I have this trip already planned out." And she looks at him, and remember, she had already given him the chicken, and she's like, "Oh," and she reaches and picks the chicken back out my dad's arms and takes back the gift, right? And it's like, because my dad couldn't fulfill his obligation as a godfather to this child, so he took back the opportunity, right?
Yeah.
So I always think about that. It's like, and my dad was like, you know, he said, "Look, son, I didn't care either way. I mean, the chicken was nice. We would have made some good chicken stew or chicken soup or something like that.
Right.
But you know, she had this specifically for that purpose. So when we offer an opportunity to someone and they don't take it, there's nothing wrong with it, right? It's like a no is just simply the next step to, like you said, to the next yes.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
So I think that's what people need to consider out there. And going back a little bit to your question of how we built the portfolio so fast is, you know what, in the beginning, I became an investor. Then when I became an investor, I became an active investor. And then we started acquiring properties. And we had to kind of fight a mindset that I had from when I was doing real estate for so long, which was, my tendency was, hey, I'm going to go with the safe bet, with the smaller properties, with the stuff that, you know I can control with my own cash, the stuff that I can control with my own team. And I had to grow outside of that mindset and start, reaching for the 50 unit deals, for the 100 unit deals.
So getting rid of those limiting beliefs, right? Eliminating those limiting beliefs. I mean, that's, and again, and I always say this, there's always another level. There's always, once you expand, then that becomes your new comfort zone. And so in order to grow and evolve, you got to then expand a little more, and now, get uncomfortable again, right? And I'm sure you're 1,000 and now you're comfortable at 1,000. So I'm sure you want 5,000 or 10, or, I know that your goal is to reach a billion under management. And how long again? Within the next how many years?
Yeah, I mean, we want to hit it by 2030. So that's 7 years from now, less than 7 years from now.
So that's going to be a new comfort zone then, hopefully.
That is a new comfort zone, right?
Yeah.
And look, when you think about those big goals in the beginning, they're like, oh, shoot, man, that's scary. But at some point, just me being in the US was scary, right?
Yeah.
Being the first one ever in my family to come to the United States with no friends, no family, no connections was scary. That was a big, huge thing that I thought, oh, I don't know if I'm gonna last a year, right? In that first
And
year,
here you
man,
are, not
hardest
only,
thing.
excelling, not just, but you're, succeeding, excelling, living the American dream,
Yeah,
which,
but
I
back
love that
then,
about your story.
back then it wasn't obvious. Like it wasn't like I didn't wake up every day and say, man, I'm living the dream. I'll be like, oh man, this is scary. Like the culture shock, the language barrier, the lack of money. By the way, when I came, I could not work just anywhere. I could only work in the college that I was going to because my
Your
visa was
student visa.
limited to working there.
Yeah.
And beginning, they had no job, so I worked for free for a few months so that they would hire me after the job showed up. Then from then on, I would when I graduated, I could only stay in the US with a work visa if my employer would sponsor it.
Right. Right.
Right, it was not that I had like pick of the crop, oh, let's go to any company. I had to be very narrow on, okay, which companies
Yeah.
offer the sponsorship for the visa.
You have
And
to fight for it.
yeah, and fight for it, really, and fight,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
those spots are very competitive, as you know, right? And then when I got laid off, again, I was in this limbo of, oh shoot, my visa was tied to my employer. Now what? So I went on, I'll be super transparent, but I went on for a period of about 2 to 3 years where I was kind of in this gray area that if I left the US for some reason, I couldn't come back.
Right. Right.
Right. Because I was building my business from my garage. And then, thankfully, I was able to fix it. And when I married my wife, get my green card, and the green card process took a while. So all in all, Jorge, it took me 20 years from the time I arrived to the US to the time I got my US citizenship.
Wow.
That's
Wow. And I mean, that's such an amazing story. And it's like you said, you just you just put one foot in front of the other. And the only thing you have is, the faith that your self-belief that, whatever comes along, you're going to encounter it and overcome, any challenge. And I love that. That's what I love about your story. And it's funny because as I mentioned before, when we first spoke, before we started the interview, we have a lot of similar background and similar trajectory, because I too came to the United States. I was a little bit younger. I was 7 years old. But yeah, English is also my second language. And my mother was my first business partner as well in our business.
awesome.
She still is. And it's like you said, and I've always said this for the last 20 years, it's who better to trust with your money than your mom. So she handles her books, and she does her accounting and all that stuff. And
That's
to
awesome.
this day, we're still business partners. And I love that about bringing the family together. Now I also saw that that you have you have an event coming up, and I wanted to talk a little bit about that, because we also put on
Yeah.
events, and we created in a community. That's why we have the podcast through our Investor Den community, because I think there's a lot of power in being around like-minded people, and learning from them, leaning on each other, just coming together, and even investing together, and just an energy is created that really helps you all grow that much quicker. And I know that you're doing some similar things, and I saw that you have an event coming up, and what I liked about it is that you're even I think you're hosting it at one of your properties.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so and before I ask you to tell us a little bit about it, just real quick, it kind of brought me back. So there was this quote that I recently heard, and it's just kind of resonated with me, which is, the human mind requires the evidence you need to expand your belief system, right?
Mm.
And so going back to your event that you're having at your property, what better evidence than to surround yourself with the person that owns this property? You're in it. I mean, what more proof, what more evidence do you need that if they see someone like you, someone like myself, and we're at a property that we own, that we've built little by little to get to this point, in order to expand your belief system. So I'm a huge proponent to attending networking events and these type of conferences. So if you want to tell us a little bit about your conference and how it all came about.
Yeah, look, my transformation happened at live events. Like every time I went to a live event, even when I was doing e-commerce, like for the longest time, Jorge, I had some limiting beliefs from my dad, especially because my dad was very sharp, very super hardworking, but like his Achilles heel is that he had one partnership when he was younger, and the partnership didn't go right, so he kind of got swayed to say, "Hey, I'm never gonna have a partner ever again," because that one bad experience.
Right.
So, and the second thing was he always believed in only using his own money and not carrying any debt. So, I picked up those things from him, and I was like, oh, shoot. So I shouldn't have any partners. I have to be careful with people, and I should never use financing. So I carried this for a long time until, I was doing my e-commerce business, and I kept hitting this ceiling of revenue in my business. And I couldn't, no matter what I did, I couldn't go past it, right? It was not about working harder. It was not about anything, but I just didn't know the things I didn't know. And when I realized, I was like, you know what? I need to go search for answers.
Right there. Yep.
And where do I search for answers? I need to get myself in a room with people that are at a higher level than me. So, that was the first e-commerce conference that I went to. I spent a couple $1,000s to go to a conference. Later on in that conference, they introduced me to a mastermind that was $25,000, and then the ultimate mastermind was $100,000. And man, I was scared. I was like, shoot, that's a lot of money.
It's a scary number.
Yeah, that's a big number. But you know what? I'm like, again, I was like, I need to completely obliterate this old way of thinking of me trying to do things by myself. And I went for it. And I got to tell you, that mastermind 9 years ago was the one that actually took me to go start the company that I sold for 8 figures, because that's where I met the people. That's where I learned their strategies. That's where I learned the knowledge. But most importantly is the one that blew my mind wide open to now understand, okay, I need to look for the right partners, smarter people than me, people that understand how to use money a different way, understand how to use systems a different way, and structure that. So when I started, committing 100% of my energy to commercial real estate, I said, look, one of the big things that I would have liked to be exposed to in my early 20s was situations and rooms and conferences and masterminds where I could go hang out with someone, like you said, that has evidence of success, so that I could say, hey, if that guy was able to do it, I can.
100%.
Right?
100%.
So that's really why we started. We started coaching. We have a free show every single Wednesday so that anybody can attend and participate every night. And then we do every quarter a mastermind at one of our properties. So people come to the property. It's a smaller group of 50 to 100 people. And we basically do hands-on training of A to Z so that they understand, oh, this is how you look for deals. This is how you finance the deals. This is how you get them under contract. This is how you negotiate that contract. This is how, you operate it and blow up the income so that you force the appreciation. And it's here live in the property. So there's no ambiguity.
Tangible evidence. It's there. You can touch it. You can feel it. You can see it.
We walk into the units, right? We walk into the units, say, hey guys, this is a 2,400 square feet commercial unit. This is how much we're charging for lease. Once we lease this space, it's going to add $1.6 million of value to the property, right? So when people see that, it's like, oh, that's legit, because they don't teach that in real estate school.
It's not a concept anymore. Now they can actually see it.
Now they can start looking, and like you said earlier, their reticular activation system.
The red car theory, right? The red car theory. Once you buy a red car, then all of a sudden you're on the road. All you see is that red car, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
the goal is to train people hands-on to give them an experience that they'll remember. And hopefully when they get back home after the 2-day event, they start looking for deals. They start thinking beyond their wallet. They start thinking beyond their limiting beliefs.
And
And
taking
even
action.
if they can't do it themselves, they call you or me and say, hey, Carlos, I found this deal, looks promising. I've underwritten it. I've analyzed it. The numbers check all the boxes. Can you look at it and see if we can do it together? Because my goal, look, is like, I don't have enough time in my day. My team doesn't have enough time in my day to underwrite 100 deals a day. But if I build enough people that understand what I want, they can go find them. We partner in deals, and I've already bought properties with people that have come to my events because they walk away changed and informed and educated, and now they know how to spot a good deal from a bad deal.
Love it, love it. And so where, you know, if you can give us some details, you know, where can they find information about it? What date is it going to be? All that stuff.
Yeah, so the next one we have coming up is in February 23rd and 24th. It's going to be here in Nashville. We're 30 minutes away from Nashville. So Nashville, easy airport to get to, is at the Gateway Village, is our property. You can find the information on any of my social media channels. I'm on every single platform with I am Carlos 10X. That's my handle, or my website, infinitecashflow.com or cs3investments.com. So just send me a DM or touch base with us on our websites, and you know, we'll give you all the details to be part of our master.
That's awesome. That's amazing.
Hopefully I can have you come.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say I saw it on your calendar, so I did mark my calendar for it. So I awesome. Do hope to be there. So we'll talk, because I definitely want to connect offline, and I plan to be there. So we have a deal in Georgia right now, in Athens, Georgia, right next to UGA, that we're putting together, or we're finalizing. We're, you know, trying to get her across the finish line. And so I know you have some stuff in Georgia too, so maybe we can talk about, maybe you have some advice for us. But yeah, and so I mean, it's crazy how fast the time goes, and you know, I just love to have, you know, continue the conversation. But you know, before we go, what would be sort of like one tip that you have for someone that's watching this, and I know you've given a ton of gold, but just like one last parting tip for someone that's looking to get started in real estate investing or in syndication in general, what would that be?
Look, I would tell you, go find a person that is actively doing deals, like someone that is hungry to do deals, to expand their portfolio, to grow big. And if you're just getting started, and let's say you don't have a lot of money, like, figure out how you can add value to that investor. Like, sometimes don't go ask them, hey, how can I add value? Because now you're making them work, right? Figure out what they want, what they need, what is something that you see could be improved in their operation. Because all of us, Jorge, have a skill set, like have a superpower, right? There's something that people have, like you listening to this right now, there's something that you do that is better than the average person out there. And you do it effortlessly. And you could do it every day, 10 hours a day, and don't even get tired because you enjoy it.
Yeah, and it's not just financial, right? It's exactly. It's a skill set.
Not financial. Yeah, it could be talking to people, doing videos, editing, doing a podcast. I mean, there's just infinite amount of stuff that is out there. And I see so many people that are so talented, that are very selfish with their talent. When the goal should be, hey, I want everybody to know that I am the best person at this one skill. Because the more you get known, and the more you display that, even sometimes without getting paid. Because look, I don't know if you had to ever do this, but I've worked for free so many different times in my life. Just to get my foot in the door and my worth. And that elevated me to, you know, a much greater level. So what I would tell people is like, look, find that investor that is doing deals and build a relationship, add some value, see how you can lean into that knowledge, partner in a deal eventually, either with money or no money. There's ways to partner in both ways, and deliver on your word. And don't get tired if things don't happen to you instantly, because a lot of people today we live in a microwave society, and they think that, hey, you put the popcorn in the microwave,
instant gratification, right?
it's ready in a minute, right? So it's like, okay, that's how everything should be. No, guys, things take time to come to fruition, and just be willing to be a student for a season. But here's the beautiful thing about real estate is, like, real estate is forever. Like, once you learn it, once you master it, once you understand it, you're set for life.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna go find the deals that are gonna change your life, the life of your team, the life of your family.
And you're only one deal away, literally.
You're only one deal away. Literally.
So,
That sounds cliche sometimes, but guys,
it's true. It's true.
I'll tell you, this property that we're in right now, we bought it in March of 2022. It's a beautiful property in one of the best locations in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, right in front of a hospital that serves 15 million patients a year. And I mean, this morning I woke up, I took a walk at 6 a.m. in the morning around the hospital. I mean, there's just hundreds of people going into the hospital, like all in scrubs, all like employees, nurses, doctors, you name it. And what's amazing is that this economy will never go away. So in just a year and a half, by forced appreciation in this property, we've increased the value by $13 million.
That's amazing. Wow. Yeah. I mean, those are staggering numbers.
Yeah. And it's like, sometimes people, I say that and they don't believe me, but when our mastermind, we go line by line item on the financials, and we show you, hey, this unit was empty, we leased it, this is how much value it adds to the property. These apartments were $200 under market in rent, we actually were able to push $450 instead of $200. So this is how much it adds. So, it's real.
There's that evidence, right? There's that evidence. Yeah. Yeah. And that's why going to these masterminds and surrounding, ourselves with people like you is such huge value. And so, I mean, Carlos, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time coming on. I do have my calendar marked, and I definitely want to keep the conversation going off and see if there's any ways to collaborate,
100%.
See how I can bring value to you guys. And I'd love to, to join forces one day. So
that'd be awesome.
Thank you so much. And we'll
you.
definitely be in touch. I'll be reaching out.
Thanks for having me.
Hey there, awesome listeners of Investor Den's Blueprint to Financial Freedom podcast. We just wanted to take a moment to express our immense gratitude for allowing us to be a part of your journey towards becoming a successful investor and living your best life. If you found this episode valuable, please share with a friend who's interested in generating wealth through passive income and wants to achieve greatness in all areas of life. And if you really loved it, feel free to share it on your social media as a post or a story. As a thank you, we have a special gift for those who help spread our message. And if you share this episode, simply send me a message on any of our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, and let me know. You'll receive a special surprise as a token of our appreciation. And once again, thank you for being a part of our podcast family. Stay tuned for more episodes packed with valuable insights and strategies. Together we'll unlock financial freedom and create a community of empowered individuals.